islands are interconnected. Not all of them have airports. So that is why the RoRo is important in transporting goods and passengers. Now, the RoRo arteries play an important role in the carriage and transport of passengers and cargo. So here we have the strong nautical highway advanced by President GMA. Oops. Okay, so there is the Western Nautical Highway, we have the Central Nautical Highway, and we have the Eastern Nautical Highway. So briefly, I will let's look at it. So in the Western Nautical Highway, we have from Batangas City to Calapan, Mindoro, and then you go down the road, then you reach Rojas, then you take the RoRo down to Caticlan, that's the Boracay area, and then you take the bus or the car going down to Iloilo, take the RoRo to Negros, and then the next is Dumaguete to Dapitan. Now, in the Central Nautical Highway, this is there are more islands in between. So from Pilar to Masbate, then Masbate to Cebu, then Cebu to Bohol, Bohol to Camiguin, and Misamis Oriental. And then the shortest one is the Eastern Nautical Highway. It's from Matnog to Allen, and then from Liloan in Leyte to Lipata in Surigao. The RoRo system is better, faster, and cheaper than the break bulk container shipping. And this is one example. For instance, if you have 15 pallets of goods, if you do it through the container shipping, so you hire a truck to bring it to the port, and then you hire the Arrastre service to bring it inside the container vessel, and then they discharge it into another port, and then you hire the Arrastre to bring it back to another truck that you're going to rent. So, whereas if you have a RoRo system, you load the goods on the truck rolls into the RoRo, and then when it reaches its destination, the truck rolls out and goes to its final destination. And you will see here, there's a big difference. They call this shifting charges. When you shift from the truck to the warehouse to the vessel, you see here, it's 46,000 pesos. But if it's a RoRo system, it's only 27,000 pesos. So there's a big savings to the people, no, who shift cargo. Now, why is there a need to modernize the RoRo industry? Okay, here's an age profile of the Philippine RoRo passenger ferries. As you can see, the bulk of the pie, RoRos more than 35 years old account for 43% of total RoRos in the Philippines. And then if you go from 31 to 35, oops, that's 16%. And if you add the 16 and if you count from 31-year-old RoRos up to 50 plus, that accounts for about 60% of all the RoRos in the Philippines. So here is another graph. Here you see RoRos age 0 to 5, and then at the end is the RoRos over 50 years old, which also Romel discussed earlier. The graph here is the passenger capacity. So if you will see, the vessels with the largest passenger capacity are the older ones. See? So from 36 years old up to 50 years old, they're the vessels with the largest capacity. And if this is relevant because it means that If you have a Ro-Ro with a large capacity, it means that you're plying the routes where there are a lot of passengers. Now, the current state of most of the Ro-Ro vessels in the Philippines, okay, usually they're brought second-hand from Japan or Korea. So, this is a usual, typical Ro-Ro vessel if you go around the islands. And they are designed for calm inland waters of Japan, which is not suitable for the Philippines because we're surrounded by seas. So this is another one. Then some add an additional deck. Usually they buy it like say one or two decks, and then they add an additional deck so that they can get more passengers. And this affects the stability of the vessel. Okay, I'm just showing some pictures of the typical Ro-Ros you find. Look at this plastic monoblock chairs. And yeah, cars going in. And of course, here, the banyo. Eco-friendly. That goes directly down. It's just a hole. Okay, so because we have a lot of bullock ships, of course, it's not safe, and we have a lot of maritime accidents. So who can forget Doña Paz, which holds the record as the deadliest ferry disaster in history during peacetime. And 4,375 people perished in that sinking. I went to Wikipedia to look at the list of the largest maritime disasters in the world, and I was so shocked to see a lot from the Philippines. And all of these, except for one, all involve Ro-Ros. Okay, so what are the prospects of modernizing the Ro-Ro industry? So I will talk about the government incentives and also the private sector initiatives. Now, we are given tax incentives like the sale, lease, purchase, or importation of Ro-Ro vessels are VAT exempt, and this is a big help to ship owners. In the BOI, if you qualify, then you are entitled to duty-free importation of your Ro-Ro vessel and also a 4-year income tax holiday. In Marina, if you invest in brand new Ro-Ro vessels which are IAX class, then you're granted pioneering status, which basically means you are entitled to ply your Ro-Ro in a certain route that's yours exclusively for 6 years. And also, Marina has put an age limit on the age of vessels that you can import. Now they're putting at 20 years, but the problem there is once it's brought here, there's no you can sail it forever as long as it's still working. So I think that's the thrust of Marina now, is to put an age limit. It's just like the what we did for the jeepneys, no? Okay, in the private sector, if you recall my previous slide, about 9% of all Ro-Ros are brand new, meaning they're under 5 years. So there are ship owners who are actually investing in brand new Ro-Ros. Most of the brand new Ro-Ros ply the eastern routes, and like in our company, we're applying the western routes, and then also the central routes are still available for pioneering status. Now the next question you may ask is, has modernization ever been done in the Philippines before? no, in the shipping industry? And the answer is yes. In 2008, in the tanker industry, in 2008, Marina required all tankers to be double hull. Because before 2008, this is most if not all, no, were single hull. So this is the hull, and this is where the crude is. It's like, and then in 2008, everybody was required to shift double hull, which basically meant everybody had to buy brand new, or at least, I know, under 5 years old, double hull. So here's the crew, here is the hull, and there's another hull here. It's like a thermos, no? So that even if you get penetrated here, the hull gets penetrated on one side, then there won't be any oil spill. See, that's the reason why they required everybody to go double hull, at least in the tanker industry. And what are the challenges facing? Like a lot of, there's been a lot of course, opposition to the modernization of the RORA industry. And the main one, at least from the private sector point of view, is ship financing. And this is what I call the pawn shop kind of financing. You know, these banks, they will require you 50% equity, and then they have a mortgage on the vessel, and then they'll require you to put up a real estate mortgage. No? So, you know, it's frustrating for the ship owners, you know, to get financing. At least here, no? Of course, we can always get financing abroad, but you know, not everybody has access to that. Okay, another challenge, like there's no standard design of ports. Ideally, if you're a vessel owner, you're supposed to be able to bring your vessel from, let's say, Cebu down to Surigao, then you move it to Dumaguete or something like that. But sa totoong buhay, that doesn't really happen. Why? Because there's no standard design of the ports. So if your vessel has a short ramp, you know, maybe it fits in Cebu, but when you go to Surigao, hindi na siya kasya. So technically, I mean, in real life, it doesn't happen that way. So, but if we had a standard design of ports, then a ship owner can actually order their vessel and build it according to the, you know, a standard design of the ports in the Philippines, so that he will be able to ply his RORO all over the country. Yeah, and also like what Romel said earlier, there's the lack of access roads to and from the ports. And we need more fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. Like there's a lot of, it's a big investment for a ship owner, and you know that we can get, you know, it would be good for us if we had like some non-fiscal incentives, like maybe priority the customs clearance, or you know, discount in, you know, whatever application fees that we pay, you know, because we pay per tonnage basis, basically. So in my conclusion, the modernization of the RORO industry has long been overdue. It can be done, as was done in the tanker industry. As a matter of fact, a few ship owners have begun modernization of the fleet on their own. But we need the cooperation of the local ship owners, the banking sector, and the government to make it viable.